Welcome to something to talk about.
Yeah, really loud.
Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco. Saturday morning, baby, which means that a Song of Ice and Fire lore video for you. And yeah, we got a big one. We got Argilac Durrandon, King Argilac to you. The Storm King, Argilac the Arrogant, and of course the last storm. Right? Are you guys ready? I'm freaking pumped. So I decided to cover a couple of the characters who are around during like Aegon's Conquest. So I did like Dira Martell. So when I cover Argilac Durrandon, I'm gonna say Dondarrion, I know it, Durrandon, where the I wouldn't say founders by any means, but the transition from the 7 different kingdoms into the one big one of Aegon the First. So yeah, here's another one. Check out my Dira Martell video. So yeah, what is this? What's going on? Pause this. You can read it, and I'm just gonna move on. All right, cool. All right, let's talk about Argilac. Argilac Durrandon. Argilac Durrandon, also known as Argilac the Arrogant, was the last Storm King from House Durrandon, who reigned in the Stormlands before the conquest by Aegon I Targaryen. Argilac was a warrior king. He's a heck of a fighter, this guy. He had a mane of black hair, but by the time of Aegon's conquest, he was an older man past his prime, whose hair has turned gray. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of love Argilac. I didn't too much until I made this video or started working on this video. I'm making this video now, so I haven't done it yet. But when I started writing this, I was like, no, I kind of like Argilac. He's kind of cool. I like him. All right, let's talk about House Durrandon really quickly. I know you're thinking, but Taco, that's a Baratheon sigil. Actually, no. It's a Durrandon sigil. Not yet. It will eventually become a Baratheon sigil, but right now, this isn't your Stormlands, buddy. It says Durrandon Stormlands. This is my Stormlands. This is the Stormlands that are not ran by Baratheons. They're ran by the Durrandons. Okay? Get with the time. The past. What am I doing here? Okay. House Durrandon is of Storm's End, was the house of the Storm Kings from the Stormlands. Their seat was Storm's End, like I said, an ancient castle raised by Durin Godsgrief, the founder of their line. The Durrandon sigil was a crowned black stag on a field of gold. Such a good sigil. Their words were, "Ours is the fury." Great words, too. Man, Baratheons and Durrandons are great. Am I right? Both sigils and words were adopted by House Baratheon, who descends from this house through the female line in Aegon's Conquest, which we'll get to. Traditionally, these Storm Kings named their firstborn and heir after the founder of the house, Durin Godsgrief. Durrandon. Durrandon. Can I keep going? Let's go. A life of wars. Yeah, get it. The Storm King once ruled much of the eastern. So the Storm Kings, the Storm Kingdom, once ruled much of the eastern half of Westeros, an area reaching from Cape Wrath to the Bay of Crabs. Their dominion was protected from Dorne, and the Kingdom of the Reach by the Dornish marches, and they conquered the Riverlands from House Teague. You guys remember House Teague? They're gone now. For several centuries before Aegon's conquest, however, their power has dwindled. They have had Kings of the Reach from the west nibble at their domains. The Dornishmen from the south also do it. When he was a boy, King Argilac turned back a Dornish invasion. Harren the Black had taken over the Trident and those lands above the Blackwater Rush. King Argilac Durrandon had managed to stop the decline of the lands for a while, towards the end of the, quote, Century of Blood. He joined the Great Alliance against the Tigers from Volantis and led a host into the disputed lands. Aegon was there too, by the way, marching against an army from Volantis, which was attempting to retake Myr. 20 years later, he killed King. Did I say later? Garth the Gardener of the Reach in the Battle of Summerfield. By the time of the Conquest, however, Argilac had grown old and his prowess at arms had faded. So, yeah, had a lot of wars. That's what I'm getting at. He fought Dorne, fought over in Myr, right? Or in the disputed lands. He's been fighting all over. That's what I'm getting at. So, long life of battle for this king. Awesome. Offer of marriage. Harren the Black, the king of the Isles and the Rivers. So Harren the Black was the Iron Islands king, if you guys don't know this, who took over the Riverlands. Well, he didn't do it. His grandpa did. And then named him, and then they were named the king of the Isles, as in the Iron Islands and the Rivers. So he's Harren Horror. They're the horrors. It's hard to pronounce that. All right. Without saying a word I'm not supposed to say. Oh, man. So he was a grandson of King Harwin Hardhand, who took the Riverlands from the Storm King Argilac Durrandon, Argilac's grandpa. So their grandpas fought. After the Battle of Fairmarket, Harren was nearing completion of his massive castle, Harrenhal, and was said to be looking for more conquest. So Argilac, who was grown afraid of Harren, he didn't want to lose any more of his land, and so proposed an alliance with Aegon. It is believed that he wanted to create a buffer zone between his kingdom and Harren's. He offered the hand of his maiden daughter Argella in marriage to Aegon, as well as the dowry of land stretching from east of the God's Eye, from the Trident to the Blackwater Rush, though much of this land was in fact in possession of Harren the Black. Yeah, so if you guys don't know what I just said there, because I don't know, I'm not that articulate. I'm trying, guys. Argilac was like, I don't want Harren the Black. Once Harrenhal's made, he's going to start attacking stuff. So he's like, all right, this chunk of land that already is Harren the Black's and above mine, why don't I offer it to Aegon, because he's got that dragon and stuff, and maybe he'll come take that land and give me a buffer zone, and I'll offer him the hand of my daughter, so like he can attack me, right? So the little allegiance. You're thinking Argilac. Plus, I'm assuming that Argilac and Aegon knew each other, right? They kind of fought in the same war a while ago. I think they knew each other. So maybe he's like, hey, Aegon, help me out. But for multiple reasons, Aegon's like, no, what? So Aegon's answer, Argilac's offer of his daughter's hand in a slew of lands that Aegon didn't even have, did nothing but anger Aegon. Aegon refused. He already had 2 wives and his sisters. Yeah, I'm already married to my sisters. Come on. Aegon offered instead the hand of his best friend and rumored bastard brother, Orys Baratheon. He's like, well, you can marry Orys as Argilla's husband, and asking a part of Argilac's lands, including Massey's Hook and the woods and plains from the Blackwater Rush south to the headwaters of the Mander. He, as an additional dowry, he's like, why don't you give me some of your lands too, Argilac? Argilac took this as a grave insult. Since Orys is a base-born bastard, he was enraged and had the hands of the envoy cut off. Whoa! And sent back to Aegon in a wooden box with a message, these are the only hands your bastard shall have of me. Aegon sent no reply. He just called his friends and bannermen. War, buddy! Now we're going to get into War of Conquest here. But yeah, so if you guys get what I'm saying, so Argilac sends a letter. He's like, hey, you want to marry my daughter and maybe take over some of Heron's lands? And he goes, no, why doesn't your daughter marry my bastard brother? And why don't I have some of your lands? And he's like, I'm going to mutilate your envoy. And he goes, all right, cool, I'm going to invade you. War of Conquest. Aegon called his banners, right? And took counsel with them and his sisters. Then Aegon sent ravens to the rulers of the 7 kingdoms all over and informed them that there would only be one king in Westeros. That's me, sucker. That's what he said. He turned in the Booker T there for a second. There's only one king, me, sucker, King Booker. Wrestling references? No? All right. Where was I? Those who bent the knee would keep their lands and titles, but those who did not, he would destroy. He apparently considered all of Westeros one land, despite the fact that the continent has long been split into 7 different kingdoms, and was determined to unify it under his rule. King Argilac refused to submit. The war began in 2 BC, so 2 years before the conquest. They started the conquest. You guys know what I'm saying. When Aegon Targaryen and his 2 sister wives landed at the mouth of the Blackwater Rush next to 3 hills with somewhere between 3,000 or a couple hundred, depending on who you ask. Yeah, we don't know how many men he even arrived with. He arrived at the 3 hills, which later, of course, becomes King's Landing, with somewhere between 3,000, which is super small, or a couple hundred, which is like nothing. It's just barely even an army, but 3 dragons. Sucka. I'm going to keep saying sucka. All right. Upon the highest hill, Aegon started the construction of the Aegon Fort, a wooden moat and bailey fort at his first claim to the, his first claim of the mainland of Westeros. The Targaryens were supported by houses Celtigar, Massey, and Valerion. After taking down some petty kings in Duskendale and Maidenpool, they split their forces. So they're starting to get a little bit of forces here. Aegon marches northwest to the God's Eye and to Harrenhal. In the greater part of his host, crosses the Blackwater Rush and heads south to Storm's End under the command of House Baratheon, with Queen Rhaenys Targaryen accompanying him astride Meraxes. So he sends Aegon's like, all right, I'm going to go take care of it. Hair in the Black. Might have to do some burning of Harrenhal stuff, right? You take my beautiful sister wife. By the way, she's my favorite sister wife. I'm watching you, Orys. And her dragon and most of my men, and go take Storm's Landing or Storm's End. And Orys is like, yeah. Is that all you needed? All right. Orys and Rhaenys marching south. So the Storm King Argilac Durrandon gathered his bannermen to Storm's End, seizing opportunity. All right, yeah, to Storm's End, period. Seizing opportunity, pirates from the Stepstones started raiding Cape Wrath because he pulled all of his men. And Dornish started from the south, coming out of the Red Mountains, started sweeping across the Dornish marches. So he's pulling all of his army to get ready to fight House Baratheon, Argilac is. And then the Dornish people and the pirates start messing with him. As Orys and the army marched south, Lord Errol, Fell, and Buckler, bannermen of the Arrogant, surprised Orys' host as they were crossing the Wendwater, which is a river, cutting down more than 1,000 of his men before retreating to the trees. So they're taking out, good old Errol, Fell, and Buckler start taking out some men. Rhaenys unleashed Meraxes on the other hand. It's a dragon who set a fire to that forest, killing a bunch of people, including Lord Errol. Word of King Heron's End at the hands of Aegon during and Balerion's flame, the burning of Harrenhal, reached Storm's End, and Argilac rode north to meet his foes in the field. So, yeah, what did I say? So I'm kind of glossing over the burning of Harrenhal, right? Because this is Argilac's video. This isn't Hair in the Black's video, right? Maybe I'll cover Hair in the Black. Why not? Maybe, I don't know. But anyways, so Aegon goes there. He's like, hey, surrender your giant castle. And then Hair in the Black's like, no. And he goes, I'm going to kill everybody. And he goes, yeah, good luck. I'm paraphrasing. And then he takes Balerion, the Black Dread, way up in the sky, and then goes down inside the walls and burns everybody. Your line will end. So hearing about that, Argilac's like, dang, I don't want that. I'm gonna go. It's like, I'm not gonna be stuck in here. Let's go fight in the field. Screw that. All right, so he leaves to go meet his foes in the field. King Argilac refused to be trapped in his castle and be roasted like King Harren. So he came out to meet the invaders. After being advised through Rhaenys' recon, yeah, she's doing some scouting, some reconnaissance. On Dragonback, Orys fortified a strong position on the hills south of the Bronze Gate and waited for Argilac's Stormlanders. Well, what did I say there? Well, she shows up. Rhaenys is like, yeah, he's marching. And he goes, oh, okay. So then he sees these hills, and Orys is like, this is a good position to fight Argilac's men. So Rhaenys is like literally flying over with the dragon because they can't do anything about it. And she's like, it's about 1,000 men. They're all marching this way. I'll go tell them. It's great to have a dragon on your side. Am I right, Orys? All right. The last storm. This is when it gets epic, yo. All right. Due to the reigns of Argilac's bannermen, urge him to wait out the storm. But he refused. Argilac outnumbered Orys' army 2-1 with 4 times the knights and heavy horse. So Argilac's army is way bigger. At the sight of the Targaryen banners flying over his hill, it enraged him. And the battle-seasoned warrior, I think I meant to say, noticed that the wind was from the south, blowing rain into the Targaryen forces. So he has the weather is at Argilac's side, right? Like it's on his favor. The weather is in his favor, right? The battle would later become known as the, quote, last storm began. The fighting was very bloody and not one-sided. It lasted into the night. Thrice did Argilac charge up the hill, but the storm made the hill slippery and muddy, and the horses struggled and lost all momentum, right? It's really hard to like get a charge when you don't have any traction with your horse, right? So the Stormlanders did better when they climbed the hill on foot. He goes, no, this horse thing's not working. Let's go foot and spear. And still with the rain in the Targaryen forces' faces, they couldn't defend themselves. And their archers' bows were wet and couldn't work, right? So you're kind of feeling me here. So Argilac was trying something, and it wasn't really working. So he switches it up, right? He goes, all right, charge. After the third one, he goes, okay, this isn't working. Like, we're going up the hill, our horses are slowing down, and we got nothing, and we can't hit their shields at all, right? So he's like, let's just get up there. So they switched to foot and spear, and because the wind's hitting in the Targaryen faces, the spears could just wham, wham. So they start to break through. And also, the Targaryens' archers couldn't get much done because they were soaked. They're getting poured on in this storm. Their bows aren't working as well, according to this. I'm not an archer. I don't know. But that's what they're saying. So the archers can't get any shots off, and these guys can't see. And now Argilac's switch up is working. So he's turning the tide of the battle. Argilac, the last storm. Let's go. I love Argilac. I'm telling you, I'm becoming an Argilac fan. I really like this guy. When finally, where was I? When finally, I was in the right spot. When Argilac and his Stormlanders broke into the center, only to be face to face with a dragon. Even on the ground, a dragon was a threat. burning the men. Yeah. They're like, we broke through the line. Is that a drag? Dang it. So even though she wasn't flying Meraxes in this storm, she's like, we'll just hang. What are they going to do? You're still a dragon. Yeah, right? So where was I? So in the chaos, Argilac got tossed from his horse, yet still continued to battle. When Orys came down the muddy hill face to face with Argilac the Arrogant, King Durrandon, whatever, he came face to face with Argilac, holding off a dozen men. Yeah, dude, Argilac could hang. He's an old man, and he's still just taking out all these guys. Orys dismounted and ordered his men to stand back. He's like, no, this is mine. The Storm King refused to yield, and then Orys slew him in single combat. Argilac's death took the fight out of his and they surrendered and fled. Yeah, that'll do it when you see your commander die. But man, did this old man not go out epically? I got 2 slides left, so don't leave yet. But he went out epically, right? Like he's fighting a dozen men at once. And then Orys is like, I'll take care of this. He's like, you ready? And he goes, yeah, I'm ready. And then Orys slays him. So awesome. Rip Argilac. Come on, man. Orys, Lord Orys of Storm's End. Argella barred the gates of Storm's End. So this is Argilac's daughter, right? Storm's End at the approach of House Baratheon and the Targaryen house. So she can see that her dad lost. So she's like, lock the gates. She declared herself the Storm Queen. I am the queen. When Queen Rhaenys flew Meraxes into the castle to parley, Argella announced that the defenders of Storm's End will die to the last man. However, her garrison didn't see it that way. They were like, excuse me, ma'am? Everyone here is happy to die for me. And they're like, oh, I don't remember having that conversation. Oops. So her garrison refused to share the fate of Harrenhal, and then they revolted. So they raising a peace banner and delivering Argella to Orys' camp, gagged, chained, and naked. That's a little rough, right? So they were like, yeah, no. So then after Rhaenys left, they chained her up, gagged her, ripped all her clothes off, and they're like, we're going to go and deliver her to Orys. So Orys, however, in his camp, removed the chains with his own hands. He's like, no. And then he wrapped his own cloak around her. God, I love Orys. And gave her food and wine and spoke to her gently, telling her of her father Argilac's courage in his death. Is Orys not the freaking coolest, by the way? Like, they were like, here, we brought her. And he goes, no, I didn't want to win. I'm not winning this way. And he like feeds her, clothes her. And then he's like, dude, by the way, your dad was awesome. Orys, you stud. I love Orys. All right. In order to reward Orys, Aegon gives him Argilac's lands and the hand of the dead king's daughter. So he gets to marry Argilac. So Orys marries, did I say Argilac? Argella marries Argella, not Argilac. He killed Argilac. And Orys kept the banner, honors, and words of House Durrandon. So Durrandon, I don't know how you're supposed to say it. So he does that to like kind of honor his new wife, Argella. And because Argilac was still a legend, he's like, no, all due respect to every Baratheon or every Durrandon, we're not changing things. Like that sigil is still fire. Those words are still fire. No, it's just Baratheon of Storm's End. That's all we got to say. And yeah, I love Orys. All right, I'll be done. Symbolism and stuff. No real theories for good old Argy. But his story is thick with symbolism. He is the final Storm King, right? Strong and arrogant against the coming storm of the Targaryens, right? So he's like the castle. He's like Storm's End. Giant, strong, and unmoving, right? He stands strong against the last storm and then dies. He is, quote, Storm's End. Are you getting it? And the storm is the dragons who won. So yeah, I really love that symbolism of him being this stubborn wall, and he refuses to bend or change because that's what his men did. That's what the Durrandons did. They stood against the storm, right? In Storm's End. He is Storm's End. On the other side of Argilac's coin is Ares. Or Orys, not Ares. Orys, who is easily a top character for me, which you guys probably have seen, showing the evolution and change of times that Argilac was refusing. Argilac was refusing the change of the times, right? The times, they are changing. He was a big Bob Dylan fan, Argilac was. And he was like, no, I'm not going to change and evolve. So Orys was just as strong, and he's the perfect successor. But he wasn't as arrogant. He's okay with changing things, right? Argilac is just like how Donald Noy described Stannis, right? Stannis Baratheon. Stannis is pure iron, black and hard and strong, yes, but brittle. The way iron gets, he'll break before he bends. So then following that analogy, that if how Donald Noy described Stannis is how Argilac was, that would mean that Orys is the true steel, right? He says that Robert's a true steel. Like, I think Orys is a way cooler dude than Robert. Like, I'd hang out with Orys before I'd hang out with Robert. Although parting with Robert would probably be pretty fun. There you guys go. Argilac Durrandon. If I said Dondarrion once, sorry. I'm not the smartest man. Thank you guys for watching. Is this the first time you've heard this, or have you checked out Fire and Blood? Because this is all right out of Fire and Blood, Volume 1. Man, Argilac is such a cool character. And Orys, as you now can tell, I'm a huge Orys fanboy. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. And, yeah, that's it. I got nothing else. Peace.